Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the World Cyber Arena Open League Finals for Hearthstone. Once again, I'm TJ, joined again by Dart. We just saw Purple take out Brainboy 3-0.
Absolutely,
really quick series.
It was very different than our first match, where we went all the way to game number. Actually,
it was game number 4. It felt long because it was Control Warrior Mirror, but yeah, that was a quick one. Purple winning those last 2 games, like 10 minutes total combined. So that was pretty good stuff. So we're gonna move into the finals. It's gonna be between Jason and Purple. Now keep in mind, all 4 of these players that we saw today will be going to the World Cyber Arena Finals in China at the end of the year, December 16th through 21st. But they're competing for the Open League Finals prize pool, which is a $12,000 prize pool. $8,000 for first place.
Exactly, and second place still goes home with $3,000. So no matter who wins this match, the loser still goes home with a good chunk of money.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, they've earned it a lot. Purple did get invited, but it's because he had such a high seed winning the North American Finals. He also participated in the Pro League qualifier back earlier in the year, but barely missed out coming out of his group. And then, of course, Jason, who made it all the way through the open bracket, which is a pretty impressive feat by itself because over 1,000 players, it's a tough thing to do.
Absolutely. Jason, as we've seen, he's been a very dominant player from the very beginning of the tournament. Winning, like you said, through a 1,000-person bracket. That's not an easy thing to do, especially in an open tournament where anyone can play. Pros were playing in it.
Yeah.
And obviously all players who kind of hope to be professional players in the future. And as we can see, Jason may be that type of person.
Yeah. So Chalky and Brainboy, we'll be seeing those guys later in the year at the World Cyber Arena Finals. They'll be joined by people from around the world and competing for that huge Hearthstone prize pool. It's a lot. It's over $200,000 for that. And that doesn't even include the amount of money that they win in the qualifiers leading up to it. The Open League qualifiers, the Pro League qualifiers for someone like Chalky. So a lot of money being put into
they will be playing for a chunk of over $200,000 at the WCA finals in China at the middle of December. Yeah.
So lots on the line for these players, and still, I mean, the difference between $5,000 for this final coming up, $8,000 versus $3,000, I'd still take the $8,000 any day.
Absolutely. They are going to be giving it their all in this following match, and I'm excited to see who comes back or comes out as the first place winner of the America qualifiers.
Yeah. So Purple's coming off a 3-0. It just happened like 5 minutes ago. And Jason is coming off a pretty close matchup with Chalky, and both of these guys have really different deck lists. Purple bringing the Dragon Priest and Midrange Druid, which Jason has Midrange Druid as well, but his other 2 decks, I guess they both have Handlock. Or was that Jason that had Handlock too?
I think both of them actually have Handlock.
Okay, wow, so very similar lineups. The only difference being that Warrior. So the Warrior for Jason versus the Dragon Priest from Purple.
So it's going to be interesting. I would have to imagine that Purple really wants to match up his Dragon Priest against his the opposing Jason's Druid. Otherwise, the Priest really does not fare all that well, obviously, against Handlock. That's a very hard counter. He does not want to get that matchup. But
Warrior
it also
doesn't,
exactly, it doesn't do all that well against Warrior. So it's going to be kind of a pick and choose, and he's going to really hope to get the matchup he wants in order to take this whole match. Yeah,
he seems to be opening with Dragon Priest a lot, or well, he opened with Dragon Priest, but a lot of players that play Dragon Priest seem to open with it a lot because it does well against the decks that other people like to open with, like Druid. So we'll have to see how that's going to line up, but that's going to be a big deal moving forward in that match, how those decks are going to line up in the Conquest format.
Absolutely. These are 2 amazing players, and I'm really excited to see how it goes by. Do you have any guess on, I guess, Jason's side? Do you think you would start with the mid-range Druid like you said, or?
Well, what did he start with last time? Well, I guess there's our answer. They both start with Druid, and Jason does have 2 warriors listed, but one of those is a Warlock.
The Druid Mirror, the most skill-intensive match in the game of Hearthstone.
Well, there's one Wild Growth for one player and no Wild Growth for the other.
Right away, we can see that Jason is more skilled. He drew the Wild Growth. He got it.
But, you know...
there it is.
And Purple does have an Innervate, too. He kept the Innervate because Innervate is also a form of ramp, even though it's only temporary. The temporary benefit that you get from it could have a permanent effect.
But unfortunately, he drew 2 cards, which generally aren't that effective in this matchup. The Big Game Hunter and the Swipe just don't do that much. Obviously, the ramp makes a big difference in terms of getting minions out. But take a look at Jason's hand. He actually has those minions that he wants. The Azure will continue cycling. The Emperor Thaurissan is a threat that Purple just can't leave on board. And he even draws into a Darnassus Aspirant here to further his ability to ramp this game.
Yeah, I mean, how does he hold all this ramp? What does he play out first? Darnassus Aspirant looks like it's going to be the choice.
Now, Purple's answer, he could innervate a swipe out, but I have to imagine that doesn't feel very good.
Not at all.
Oh, and he does take the advantage of trying to get the Shredder out. He wants something out in time to deal with the Darnassus Aspirant before Jason can actually get out a turn 4 play.
Yeah, you sort of need something out. And Kazan Mystic is definitely not going to help Jason in any of the matchups. Purple doesn't even have a single secret class.
Priest, Druid, and Warlock. Unless some of those cards recently got a secret in the new expansion, I don't think it will make much of a difference.
There's any cards even that they can use that would give them secrets. Yeah, there's none. No, like...
Let's see, Hero Power, possibly a Wrath to clean up this last part of the Shredder, but Purple gets the follow-up he needed with the Druid to Claw for turn 5.
Yeah.
And now from this point on, even though both players ramped up, it's going to be very hard set for Jason to actually come back into this game.
His lost initiative.
Exactly, but as we see that Purple does not have the most effective minions in hand. Really, the only minion he has is Big Game Hunter. So it really comes down to whether Purple, whether or not he draws the cards he needs to actually follow this fantastic play right now.
Yeah, and Jason plays off curve in that situation there because he wants something that's going to contest the Druid of the Claw more. He wants something that even after the Druid of the Claw trades into the Pilot Shredder, if it does, there's still something left behind that can finish it off. Where Azure Drake, you won't get that luxury.
Now, Purple's contemplating whether or not he actually wants to use his Wrath to clear off the 3-2, or if he wants to actually use his 4-6 Bear to kill it himself. Is there any advantage to either of those two?
You're playing Dr. Boom next turn no matter what.
That is usually how the card works.
But you're also not really in a position where you can afford to expend a lot of resources. So...
Okay, so he actually decides to keep the Wrath. Hopefully he can either use it to cycle in the future turns, or get a little bit more of an advantageous use of it.
Yeah. This might change things, though. And usually Dr. Boom is an automatic play, but... Okay, it still is not.
It's still a Dr. Boom. Yeah. That is on board.
You're going to give your opponent, most likely, 2 turns of Emperor Thorsan. Actually, maybe not, depending on the boom box.
Purple decides to go face. He wants to push his damage. He realizes that with the Dr. Boom on board, if Jason doesn't have the Big Game Hunter, he's going to be putting himself in a lethal range that he can actually end this game quickly. But because of the Emperor Thorsan, we are going to see the Azure Drake into a swipe.
Well, I guess it didn't really matter whether or not the Azure Drake came down, because the regular swipe would have been enough to clear everything. The big thing is, he needs the Shrinkmeister to stick around to kill the Dr. Boom.
No, he does actually have one other option. He could use the Shrinkmeister and you swipe on the 4-6 Bear and then Emperor Thorsan to kill the 7-7.
That's true, but then he needs his Emperor Thorsan to survive.
Boombots don't like Azure Drakes.
I told you, they don't. So he is going to get 2 turns out of the Emperor Thorsan, but a couple of the cards were used, but Ancient of Lore being 5 mana is a pretty big deal.
And then he had the option to play the Ancient of War, but it's just... Oh, and he does get a piloted Shredder.
Hello.
Perfectly filling out his curve here. That's exactly what Purple is looking for.
Yeah.
The question is it enough to come back into this game when Jason is just now getting board initiative?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like I said, 5 mana Ancient of Lore, though, is a fantastic reduction. Because on Mystic, I mean, it is going to do something here. It's going to be a 4-3 body. It's a silenced Paladin Shredder.
This Ancient of War is going to do a lot more, though. Luckily, Jason does have the Keeper of the Grove, but again, that only does 5 damage. That's still a lot, but it does leave a 5 attack minion still on board.
Well, he does have Force of Nature as well. Plus a Hero Power with Innervate. So there's probably a full board clear in here. No, not quite. Probably can't kill whatever comes out of the second portion of the Shredder.
Exactly. So what would be the best way to do this here? He could run his 4-3 into the 5-5 to get that into the swipe 1 damage range. Then you could swipe the Shredder, Hero Power off the Big Game Hunter, and run the Ancient of Lore into the last remaining, either the 2-3 on board or whatever comes out with the Shredder. But it looks like he's avoiding at all costs using his Hero Power in order to... Oh, and that will be game for Purple. Leaving up the Piloted Shredder here is just enough damage with a Force of Nature to end this game.
Really strong moves by Purple there to realize his win conditions in that matchup, that he's running out of resources. He realizes that the Druid that's on lower amount of resources needs to be the aggressor because they need to force their opponent to play inefficiently. It's exactly what Purple does, and he's definitely rewarded for it. He's going to take game number 1.
Exactly. So that was a great game. I got to say, there were actually a few options that both players had to contemplate throughout. It wasn't just the kind of hands played themselves, which often we do see in Druids.
Yeah.
And it goes to show that both players, I would say, did it fantastically. They knew exactly what they needed to do to stay within the game. And Jason gave himself every chance to actually come back and remain a competitor in that match.
Yeah, especially Druid Mirror matchup, because sometimes, you know, everything just plays itself. It's a big board control match, but that one had a lot of conscious decision-making, and Purple definitely took the right route there. So taking that Mirror matchup victory is a big deal, because now it opens up a little bit more room for his other decks to sort of fail and still be able to pick themselves back up.
But once again, Purple is going to run into a situation where he has to find a win with his Priest, and I think his best opportunity is to actually get it against that Druid. So now it kind of increases his chances and opportunity to do that. But let's say he decides to go with his handlock here, and Jason actually decides to go with his Druid again, and he loses that. Then he might be out of this turn or be out of this match completely. So it's kind of a mind game setting right here where he has to figure out the right option.
Yeah, and I think he makes the right choice by throwing out the Priest. We'll see if he can pick up the win against a Control Warrior. It's a really tough matchup for Priest.
That's a good start, though. Having the Warm Rest Agent into Valen's Chosen, into the Twilight... Oh, the Twilight Whelp turn 1, Warm Rest Agent turn 3, Valen's Chosen... Or, I'm sorry, Warm Rest Agent turn 2, and then Valen's Chosen's turn 3. That is what you want.
But Jason does pick up the Fiery War Axe off the first draw.
That's the rule of the warrior.
Yeah. Yep. And still a pretty decent curve here. With Warm Rest Agent plus Twilight Guardian.
Exactly, and luckily for Purple here, his opponent does not have a Cruel Taskmaster to finish this off. So I have to imagine he'll just not even attack and just leave the Acolyte of Pain just on the board. However, we're most likely going to see the Valen's Chosen actually kill the Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, and that's most likely going to force the Execute out as well.
Which is a very early execute, but again, it's still a 2-for-1, which is something that Jason, I have to imagine, is relatively happy about.
And Warriors do have a lot of removal. A lot of times when you're playing a Dragon Priest, you're pretty happy about seeing removal come out early on these small creatures, because it means your Sarah is more likely to stick later on in the game. But Control Warriors do have lots of removal, double shield slams, and double executes, so...
Purple just seems to be hitting his curve every single turn. Now he has the opportunity to Shadow Word Death, or you could just Azure Drake and leave this minion alive.
Yeah, sure. I like that.
Dr. Boom most likely wants to save the coin at this point now.
Yeah.
But again, it makes things a little bit awkward because Jason now has the ability to use his weapon and his minion to clear off this 3-5, and then Purple has no very good way to clear off this Harrison Jones, the last part of it.
Yeah. And the thing about Dragon Priest is that they have, it's sort of like a Druid deck, except they have a little bit stronger mid-range creatures with the Dragon Battle Cries, but no burst, no like secondary win condition besides just like the tempo. They do have like Ysera, but as far as burst, they don't have it. And sometimes that's what you need to kill Warrior, because you can't give them too much time.
Exactly. Now, Jason's probably contemplating is whether or not he wants to play any weapon at all, just in case of a Harrison Jones. But by not doing it, now he doesn't have the potential of it to help deal with the Dr. Boom that's coming down right now. So it's going to set Jason in a very peculiar spot. It's how does he go about dealing with this kind of board? So, he could actually use his Deathbite to clear off this 4/4 Drake, Hero Power, Shield Slam, the Dr. Boom, and then kill it off as Harrison Jones, only leaving the 2 Boom bots.
Yeah.
So this does leave him kind of opposing a less threatening board, but again, it still gives Purple initiative, which we'll have to face down.
It's a big deal. And Purple knows that another piece of removal is out of the way.
Injured?
So that's another thing that you have to worry about if you're Jason is, what happens if your Sarah comes down? Do I even have a way to deal with it? At the moment, the answer is no.
Shield Block's going to help. It will allow him to cycle through his deck. But again, I'd have to imagine that Justicar True Heart comes down here, just kind of give him armor, get him back in this game, just so Purple doesn't have the ability to start bursting down.
Yeah.
Boombots do 5 damage to the face, which is about average, so I don't think he's too upset about that.
Is someone injured?
Northshire Cleric, I think Purple does want to start cycling through his deck a little bit. Whether or not we use a Shadow or Death is going to be a difficult decision. It's usually a 3 health minion is not something you want to use a Death on.
Yeah. And he realizes that and just decides to go face. Well, Shield Slam's picked up, so Ysera will meet an early end. Most likely.
On top of that, he does have the bash available to further give him a little bit more armor in case it does get chipped down in just a little bit.
Yeah. So it was looking rough for Jason, but he's starting to make his way back, and you know that's just sort of what Warrior does. It kind of looks rough for them, but then they stabilize.
And normally you don't really want to throw down a Ysera facing down a 6-1 minion. That takes away half of its health. Now all Jason does need is the bash, which he does have. He might not even use a shield slam.
I have no time for games.
Or he can just take it.
Or he can just take it, but it's just going to get taken right back by the Shrinkmeister Cabal.
Then here we see a perfect reason why Purple decided to actually not use the Shrinkmeister earlier in the game. Just for board advantage. He wants to take a Ysera.
Yeah. And if he really wants to, he can play Ysera Awakens to kill off, but I guess
he'd probably want to do that first, if anything.
Yeah.
Change your mind.
Well, he would have had to do it first, yeah.
Wow. That's the epitome of why the Shrinkmeister Cabal Shadow Priest play is so good. It not only kills an opponent's 9-mana minion, but it takes it for yourself.
Sure. I'll take that. Sounds like a good combination of cards to me.
Now, we're going to see Jason here decide to use the Nightmare, probably in order to kill off this Ysera. He realizes how much of a threat that minion actually... This will be interesting. It looks like he's going to use Revenge Dual Taskmaster, which, because he has 12 health, it's going to kill it.
Yeah. The perfect amount of health. He planned it all along.
From the very start of the game, he's like, all right, I'm at 30 to 27. I got to kill this, kill this, kill this. And right on turn, whatever turn we're on, I'm going to use the Revenge at the perfect time.
And now Jason's starting to run out of resources. Just Alexstrasza left, which both Shadow Word Deaths still kept in the hand of Purple.
Purple is playing this game so well. He's saving his resources, trying to use them most optimally. Jason only has a certain amount of bombs, and right now it looks like Purple's going to be able to take care of all of them. He has a Shadow Word Death, actually both Shadow Word Deaths for 2 of them, and then the Sylvanas for the final one.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Made to fit.
I feel like Jason at this point, he's like, all right, I'm a Zoo deck from now on. Let's just throw it all down.
Oh, he just has to use Ysera Awakens here and then heal back up his Dark Cultist.
I'd have to imagine that's actually what's going to happen. Against a Warrior, do you ever get a more effective Ysera Awakens than this?
Nope. We'll be taken out by the Bash, most likely, but it'll also buff the Twilight Guardian. And Jason got those out the well played. It's funny that Purple last game that he had the Ysera, he got like 6 streams in a row.
Exactly.
This game he gets both Ysera Awakens.
He's getting everything he needs.
Yeah. So pretty good back-to-back pickups by Jason, but again, just very little resources at the moment. Especially since he knows the Alexstrasza is most likely just going to get taken out by a Shadow or Death.
Now, do you imagine a Death Spite double bash just to clear out this board? He is able to kill off everything at this point.
What now?
But it uses a lot of resources for a small board.
That's his whole hand. And now this Dark Cultist is going to buff up the Twilight Guardian, so it'll be a little bit tougher to take out now. A 2/9.
It's a big minion. That's a turtle with 2 extra health.
The power
It is.
Blackwing.
Oh, wow. Purple picks up the Blackwing Corruptor. He really wishes he had a dragon in hand other than that Sylvanas. Because he would actually have the additional 1 attack on his dragon, plus the additional 3 damage burst from the Blackwing Corruptor.
Yeah. But Dragon Trees do take quite a long time to close out the game, even when they're ahead.
Now, Baron Geddon is actually a pretty good pickup, just because it does represent another threat. If, for example, if Purple only had 1 Shadow or Death in his hand and used it on the Baron Geddon, the Alexstrasza would have a good chance of living. But as we see, Purple just has all the answers. Death, Sylvanas, Death, Light Bomb.
He just didn't play Dr. Boom. I guess he's really afraid of Light Bomb.
He's gaining... See, right now, he's actually gaining more armor per turn than Purple's dealing with. So I don't blame him. It's as if that dragon is not even on the board. He wants Purple to find a way to overextend here. And purple's just not going to play into that game.
Yeah. Well then, so we got ourselves a good old-fashioned Hearthstone standoff.
Who's going to make the first move?
Nobody. Not even power word shielding.
Now,
Like a true 6 cards left for purple.
I gotta say, I feel like if purple had a dragon in hand, he'd be very tempted to play that Worm Rest Agent. But as it stands, there's really no reason to play a 1-mana or a 2-mana 1/4 minion. It really just doesn't represent all that much damage.
Well, Jason's gaining health, but effectively purple's not gaining anything.
From this point on, you're right.
Because Alexstrasza, also, if you factor in that, I mean, he's going to bring it back down to 15 at some point anyway.
Oh, wow. Jason doesn't even give a nod to the 2 minions on board. Is this just going to be a 4 attack, 4 armor standoff for the rest of the game? Until someone decides to make a move?
Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous.
Because if purple plays 1 more minion, he's going to be facing down a brawl. But if he doesn't do anything, then it's just... Okay.
That's a smart choice.
He was at a full hand capacity, so I guess he did realize that he had to play something, and the most effective way of not playing in a brawl was actually just buff up one of the minions that's already on board.
Yeah.
Which you can't really blame.
And Jason also has a full hand now, so he's got to start playing some of these threats. Decides to throw down the Dr. Boom.
And Light Bomb can do a lot of stuff against the Dr. Boom. Question is does he have a better answer to it?
You have to factor in the skill power, though.
Oh. He knows because it was buffed. Oh, Blackwind Corruptor. There we go. Purple found a perfect answer for it while being able to save the Light Bomb. I have to say that I really like that play.
Uh-oh, Jason's almost out of cards. But so's Purple. I think Purple still has just 2 cards left remaining his deck, so we're going to be getting that same notification for him the next turn.
Is this a brawlable board with only 3 minions? Or do you try to extend it and hope that Purple overextends just a little bit more?
You have to think Purple's not going to overextend, and now you're throwing in your own creatures.
And again, this is where the pre-strength lie. He can start trading up with these minions and uses hero power to keep them alive.
But with these cards left for Purple, and those cards left with Jason, who comes out on top? It's a lot of utility spells for Purple, but a lot of big hitters for Jason.
So here's the thing. I think Purple has an answer for every one of Jason's cards.
Ysera, 30th card in the deck.
It's a good one to get.
He's going to get Sylvanas Shadow of Death, most likely. Usually no double shrink fight.
I actually think that it may not, because if he does that... Oh, well, he decides to do it anyway.
He has Light Bomb.
True, he does have a Light Bomb as final removal, but you gotta, like, he hasn't seen that many threats from Jason just yet. So he probably he just used 2 removal to get to get rid of one of his bombs.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, it's good because you do get a Ysera card, which could in fact be a dream is over. He probably wanted something different, but
yeah.
This just baits out the brawl, which I have to admit Purple was coming.
If Jason had gotten the Ysera Awakens, there was no way for him to lose. Because he had his second charge of Despite, he could just Alexstrasza, and then Grom kills from no matter what health.
You're right.
Through a taunt, because both Twilight Guardians are gone. Even if he had played the Wormrest Guardian.
Are you mocking me?
So it's hard to determine who has advantage, but I think that Jason has it just based on the hero power.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the minions are going to go 1-for-1 the entire time.
Yeah. There's not even anything that Cabal Shadow Priest can steal, so that's basically a 4-5. Azure Drake just draws you deeper into your deck, so you start taking fatigue damage more quickly.
I can take the hit.
This, and obviously armor up every turn, it's something Jason's known for, and I like it. Wow, decides to use Shadow of Death with a 5-5. I guess he realized it was absolutely necessary in this position.
Yeah, he can Light Bomb for Alexstrasza, but Jason's definitely going to throw that out next turn.
Now, yes, we do see Purple as an Azure Drake, and once again, it gets him ahead on the fatigue damage, which is something he doesn't want to do. So he's going to have to calculate is how many turns the Azure Drake is going to be alive versus how much extra damage he takes, whether or not he wants to actually play it.
Well, that's his game anyway, because he can dream the Wormrest Agent and slam face with the Grom.
Well,
Plus the fatigue damage, he wouldn't even have to dream it. Yeah, and Purple realizes that he's going to go ahead and concede out. Jason ties it up 1-1 with the Control Warrior victory.
And there we see it, the Priest falling just short. That was one of the closer matchups that he had an opportunity to play. But now we're going to see the mind games really come into a factor. Obviously, Purple has his handlock and his Priest left, where if he matches his Priest against Jason's handlock, he has almost no way to win.
Yeah.
However, if he matches his Priest against the Druid, then he has a pretty good shot at winning. I would say that the Priest is even has an advantage against the Druid.
Yeah.
So it's really going to come down on these deck choices is who's going to take this match. And this match is for $8,000 to the winner.
Yeah, it's tough. You have to predict like what your opponent's going to try and throw out there. I'd imagine that at this point it's like a best of 3. So it's either you go into the unfavorable matchup or you don't. Like that's it. Like it's just sort of like a 50-50 at that point. So it's really tough for both players to try and predict what their opponent's going to do.
Exactly.
What deck their opponent's going to throw out.
It's going to be very coin flippy in terms of which deck they choose. Obviously, in game, the choices will matter quite a bit. And as we know, that both these players are very professional. They're they're extremely skilled with each of their decks, so they know how to go with the matchups. But once in a while, for example, if you're Priest against handlock, no matter how good you are, you're probably not going to be able to win that.
Yeah, well, Purple does match his Priest against the Druid of Jason.
Here we have it. This is exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, does Jason just not look happy? I'm not even sure. Maybe he's tired?
I think he might have realized that if he used handlock instead, he could have either had the handlock mirror, which was going to obviously be 50-50, or he could have had the advantage in this matchup. So he might be contemplating maybe the Druid wasn't the best draw.
The time could be weird for Jason as well. I know he plays on any ladder a lot, but he plays in the Celestial League, which means he does a lot of play in China. So I think in China right now it's like 3 a.m.
It's middle of the night.
Yeah.
Could be tired.
Yeah.
But he's been playing really well, so you really can't completely blame him for this.
Yeah.
You see Purple has one of these draws that really kind of shows why the Priest has the advantage over the Druid. It's
curve out well. It's really tough for the Druid to fight back.
But I think this Druid of the Claw will actually do a lot of damage. Whether or not he charges it is going to be an interesting question. Okay, he decides to actually bear.
The extra health is actually worth quite a bit.
Oh, wow. This Shrinkmeister is going to be a big effect against the Druid of the Claw in bear form.
Yeah.
Allows Purple to keep all of his minions up and continually develop his board as is.
Does have another Druid of the Claw to follow it up, though. And now the Shrinkmeister is gone for Shrinkmeister Cabal shenanigans later on. Shrinkmeister Cabal is one of the strongest... Druid is one of the strongest... the decks that is strongest against, sorry. Because of Druid of the Claw, Azure Drake, Paladin Shredder, so many things. You know you're going to get value out of that Cabal anyway because of Keeper of the Grove.
So here we see Purple just deciding to trade as efficiently as possible, heal up his minions, keep them alive as long as possible. And once again, Jason's behind, and he's going to have to find a way to fight back against this board. Do you see any optimal options from Jason's hand currently?
I mean, Shredder contests the board the most. You can Azure Drake and try and pick up something to innervate into, but you can play Shredder plus innervate out a Keeper, but that doesn't really have much of an effect, especially going into turn 6. So Azure Drake it is trying to dig. That is something that he can innervate out.
Good. But unfortunately, he has the Holy Nova. Purple has the Holy Nova in hand to answer that very easily. Question is he going to Holy Nova and use his Shrinkmeister to kill off the Drake, leaving his Shrinkmeister alive? Or will he use the Zombie Chow, kill off the Zombie Chow, and allow his Shrinkmeister to remain in full health?
He's been playing very value-centric, so this seems like the play that sort of fits what he's been doing.
Ancient of Lore is a good one to have on turn 7. Continually draw through your deck. Try to find some more answers in order to deal with Purple's board, so I like it.
So Sylvanas does have the potential to just be traded into by the Ancient of Lore, but it would need something else on the board to get through it. So I think this is a safe play. If he keepers to get through the Worm Rest agent, then...
Let's see, he could actually Wrath.
The Sylvanas keepers.
He could Wrath and Hero Power to kill that off. Trade into the Sylvanas and then play Shredder.
Yeah.
Oh. He looks like he wants to cycle a little bit. Kill off the Shrinkmeister. This still allows him to silence out the Sylvanas, but again, he's facing down a lot of damage, and a lot of times Keeper is not a card you want to use against a Priest when they're beyond turn 6.
Just going to Cabal it.
I must
Exactly.
safeguard the life.
Okay.
Wow, so now Purple actually has multiple ways to seal this Keeper. Question is, which one does he want to take?
Huh. That's actually tough. You're getting it no matter what. If you just steal it with the Sylvanas, you can play Twilight Guardian and Dark Cultist. But if you steal with the Cabal Shadow Priest, then you can push 5 damage to face.
I think I like the Twilight Guardian. Well, actually, here's the next question. Do you do double Twilight Guardian, or do you do Twilight Guardian Dark Cultist?
Well, if you do double Twilight Guardian, your second Twilight Guardian is only a 2/6 without taunt, which is still, I mean, same amount of still more power than 3/4, like total.
But having the Guardian in your hand could make a difference in future turns. So I think that's one of the reasons that...
If you draw a Blackman Corruptor next turn.
Oh! He just goes face anyways and doesn't even steal that.
Okay, hello. That's it. That's cool. When in doubt, go face. Purple's on board with that methodology.
So now what?
I wonder.
If you use... Ooh, this is difficult.
If you Ancient of War with the Sylvanas on the board, what do? He can Keeper the Sylvanas. And then Loatheb? I don't know.
Because you want to use hero power here if at all possible, but I think Loatheb Keeper may be the best play. But again, we see that the Cabal Shadow Priest is still going to be effective on the brand new Keeper of the Grove that just came down.
Yeah, and that's going to be so much damage staring at him on the board.
I'd have to imagine he just goes face. He can ignore this Loatheb. He wants to push the damage right now and end this game as is.
Yeah, and this Ancient of War is going to have to go a long way. Ancient of War plus Innervate and another threat is a lot of power being put on the board.
I think without the Shadow or Death, Purple has a chance to even lose this. This Ancient of War without the Shadow or Death is going to absorb so many of Purple's minions right now.
We'll see. The Dark Cultist can buff one of them up.
Power Word Shield, that's a good start.
2 ways to dig here with Azure Drake and Power Word Shield.
The problem is if you use the Azure Drake first and don't get it, then you can't get the buff of the Twilight Guardian. Ooh. So the Corruptor will actually allow him to use a Cultist and the Cabal Shadow Priest here to kill this off and continue to push damage. I like this.
And once again, a very intimidating board. And I don't think there's any way out for Jason. He's going to dig with the Wild Grove, but even if he gets a swipe, I don't think it's enough to keep him alive.
I think you're right about that.
What does he draw?
Sylvanas is not enough. Purple is going to take the game, going up 2-1 against Jason.
Pretty good series from him, and you know that's just the strength of those priests when they curve out. He played a very value-centric game early on. He made sure that he kept his creatures alive as long as possible, which Druids have a hard time coming back on the board. And we saw that Ancient of War come down, and you know, theoretically it can block a lot of damage, but you can maneuver it in a way where you can buff up your creature's health, especially with the Dark Cultist. You could have done crazy things with that. Didn't really matter in the long run. Didn't really even put up a roadblock against Purple's
absolutely. The
tempo.
The Priest can do such efficient trades that it's really difficult for Druid if they ever lose board to really come back.
Yeah.
But going into our next game, Purple's last deck is a Handlock.
Handlock.
So he's got to win, obviously, the Handlock mirror and against a Druid. So by no means am I counting Jason out of this match just yet.
Yeah, Druid definitely a deck that can take wins against Handlock relatively easily. And then a mirror matchup is just a mirror matchup. I mean, it's 50-50 at its nature. So that one could go either way. And I'd say Purple is one of the most experienced Handlock players, I'd say, in the world. I mean, he has a lot of practice on this deck, and he has a lot to say. He's very outspoken about, you know, right and wrong plays in Handlock after speaking to him quite a bit about it. So we'll see if he can manage to get through. And Jason actually has a really good hand this time around.
Yeah,
picks up the ramp, picks up the ways to deal with the threats.
That is quite good. Now, here's the question is whether or not... And he's going to do it.
Yes.
The coin Ancient Watcher into silence. He knows that Darnassus Aspirant coming down could be absolutely disastrous.
And I think Jason realizes this, and he's like, okay, I'm going to Wild Growth here instead of using Darnassus Aspirant because that's a dead giveaway. But now, Purple's going to start going aggressive here a little bit.
A turn 2 Yeti for 2 mana, along with the Silenced, or the Owl to follow it up with.
Pretty good.
Awkward to say the least.
Yeah. He's going to hear Innervate out of Kazan Mystic. Not bad, not bad.
The light
And then the
does
following
not
turn,
discriminate.
I can't imagine that he would actually use a Druid Claw here. He'd probably want a Hero Power. So Purple's going to get a tap, followed up by a Twilight Trait. He's getting a great curve with this initial aggressive move.
Yeah. I'd say so. But now he's sort of lost that initiative, and it could be hard for him to come back from this one, especially since Jason's going into the next turn. Even if that Darnassus Aspirant wasn't played, he'd still have 6 mana available. It signs up perfectly for Keep of the Grove plus Hero Power.
And the following turn, Purple actually won't be able to play his Mountain Giant because of only 5 mana, and it will still cost 6 with the amount of cards he has in his hand.
Yeah.
So even though the aggressive move at the very beginning was very promising, Jason had enough ramp to kind of follow it up that he's going to start putting on so much pressure that I'm not sure how Purple's going to find a way to deal with.
Yeah.
Hellfire's one good way to start it off.
Yeah, Purple sort of hedges bets against just Darnassus Aspirant, but Jason just had so much ramp, it didn't even matter.
Oh, Emperor Thaurissan. Does this mean Purple's going to have to actually play a Doom Guard and throw away his hand? Or just answer it.
Or play his own.
Or another Emperor Thaurissan.
Yeah.
This is scary, though.
And what length will these players go to protect their Emperor Thaurissan?
I have to imagine.
Will he charge Druid of the Claw and Hero Power it down to protect his own Emperor Thaurissan?
No, I think he just taunts up, goes face to Emperor Thaurissan.
So much power on the board.
Oh, he does trade it. Okay. Giant Dark Bomb taunt. Oh, he can't because he actually just top decked that, so still.
Druid of the Saber. Well, Jason's running out of resources, and he doesn't have combo in his hand. So he can threaten it, but it's going to be tough for him to actually close it out from here. And Purple, with the Emperor Thaurissan reduction, is going to be able to start putting these big threats on the board.
Ancient War is a good one to start putting up a big wall of threats that Purple has to find a way to get through.
Oh, but next turn
plays a Giant, he'll be able to taunt both of these up.
Yeah, next turn he can just Molten Giant, anti-Killbot. I think Purple's actually not in a terrible spot here.
I don't disagree. But at the same time, if Jason at any point picks up an Ancient of Lore, draws more cards, is able to find a way to dig through his combo here, he's going to actually be able to use his 2-1 and Hero Power down this Giant. But then if he faces down an Owl, it's game over.
That's crazy. That's a tough decision to make.
How does he do this one?
That's a really tough decision to make.
The better trade here.
He's going for it.
All right, Purple has 2 chances to draw it. Do you think he'll go for it to end this game?
Well, tap allows him to play Molten Giant plus anti-Killbot anyway, so I'd imagine tap would be near automatic.
But we also have to keep in mind that Purple did use 1 Owl already, so he may very well...
Oh yeah, he probably might just only run 1, yeah.
Exactly, so I think that was kind of a safer play than it originally looked.
Yeah, I don't think that's even a risk by Jason. I think he can safely assume. And judging by Purple's line of play here, we'll probably get a better indication of exactly what's going on.
Do you imagine the Molten Giant Defender of Argus here? He's probably playing around Jason top decking the second combo piece, so he's going to be calculating the amount of damage that comes with.
Who dares summon me?
Whoa!
Ho ho! Hello! He's setting up for next turn lethal is what he's doing.
He's trying to end this game. He's putting it on Jason to have an answer to this board.
And I think that's it. He can clear, because he's got Jiraxis next turn. He needs a taunt from this Shredder, because he can't get above 10 health coming in this turn. He can clear off both of this stuff, with Wrath and with Pilot Shredder. I think that was a winning move.
So I think his best option here is to try the Pilot Shredder into 8-3, and then maybe even Wrath and Hero Power down this 5-1, but possibly pick up a big game hunter, possibly pick up another taunt.
Can he put Purple on having that extra damage, though? Because if he doesn't Hero Power, he still wouldn't be dead as long.
Oh, and Wrath gets reduced a little bit. It's not bad.
I don't know if that really... I mean, I guess, but...
How much does it help? Probably not that much, but it's one other possibility.
Time waits for no one.
Savage Roar is not going to do it.
Nope, and that's it. Purple is going to take the game and take the series 3-1 with an unorthodox line of play, but he set himself up perfectly to win the game the next turn. That was a really good play, one that I didn't even spot.
Absolutely, and that was just so well played by actually both players. Even though Purple did come out victorious, Jason played that entire match so well. He always gave himself the best chances to actually come back and win the games.
Yeah, so Purple with a really impressive performance. He is going to be the World Cyber Arena North American Open League champion for Hearthstone. You can see his path there. 3-0'd Brain Boy in a really quick series. And then, of course, we just saw the 3-1 against Jason. Really well played by Purple.
And he will be taking home $8,000 from this tournament today.
Yeah, pretty big deal. Jason, of course, will go with $3,000. And all the players that we saw today will be competing at the World Cyber Arena Finals December 16th through 21st, I believe, of this year in China. So definitely be looking out for them. They'll be competing with other players from around the world, from the other global World Cyber Arena qualifiers. So, you know, well played. I was really impressed by Purple's play today.
Yeah, it was great matches all around. All players today have played so well. They've done so much in order just to get to this point. So I'm really excited to see how they actually do in the World Cyber Arena in China in December.
Yeah, lots of money on the line for those guys. But let us know what you guys thought of the matches today. You can tweet at WCA_America. You can use the hashtag WCA 2015. We saw some fantastic play today. I think there's really high-level Hearthstone that we saw today. So all these players, definitely bright futures. Looking forward to seeing them. So let us know what you thought and what you thought of the games moving forward. But I think that's going to do it. Dart, any final words?
No, this has been so great. The players have all played so amazing. I'm really excited to see them hopefully take home the gold for the United States.
Yeah, we'll see moving forward. We'll have to see going into December. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But that's going to do it for me and Dart here for Hearthstone. Make sure you guys stay tuned later. The Dota 2 finals for World Cyber Arena will take place later on today at 4 p.m. Pacific. And, of course, tomorrow we will have Crossfire and Heroes of the Storm taking place. So make sure you're getting on social media, following at WCA_America. And for myself, from Dart, from everybody here on the broadcast team, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later today.